what's up, Uncle Mike?
Hello. Hey, Nicky Nick. Yeah, what's going on, kid?
Yeah, not too much. Working on this camper, finishing cleaning up.
Yeah, I'm getting ready for the show. I was just downstairs messing with my tarantulas. Brachypelma Smith. Man, I love them things.
Yeah, Uncle Mike, I've been seeing these crazy spider webs around here. Yeah, it's freaking me out.
I don't know how you feel about spiders. I was thinking about sending you one. I'll just mail it to you.
No, it freaks me out. You know I don't like spiders.
I got 2 of them.
I just hope I don't see one.
Oh my God! Hello? Hello? Nicky Nick?
Can you hear me, Uncle Mike? Can't hear you.
I'm only joking.
You got me.
I'm
there
a
was,
dick.
there was nothing.
Uh,
Yeah, Nick Winconis with the Crocs. It was pretty cool. It's amazing because I've seen one in person now, and I never knew that they come out, Uncle Mike. It was like this big.
yeah.
It was like a 4-month-old water monitor. It was crazy.
Yeah. Well, the eggs are pretty big compared, you know. I seen, who did I see? Maybe it was Bigger, Better Reptile guys.
Oh, yeah, that's another one. That's a great one. We didn't mention them with the sulfurs.
There you go.
We're a mess this week, guys. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So, well, and you know what? There you go. So, Bigger, Better Reptiles had hatched out some sulfurs. What do you know about the clutch, Nick? Because I'm not really into the genetics and stuff.
So I talked to them a while ago, and I don't want to butcher this, but I'm going to try to get it right. So they had a sulfur that was het albino, and I think they proved it out, and they were unsure of which albino it was, but I think they're saying it's T positive. But you know us, guys, and those albinos are insane. If I had to get behind any albinos, those Javan sulfur albinos are mind-blowing.
Yeah, you know, I know Martin Spilkin, he had hatched out the world. I don't know if it's the world first or United States first.
Yeah.
You know, many years ago. And I did not, when he was posting that, I was like, dude, you're crazy, man. That's a sulfur. It's nothing fancy. And, you know, then in talking to a few other people, they kind of assured me that it was an albino of some sort. Yeah. But I've never seen it other than, you know, a hatchling size. So I would love to see what, you know, a full grown albino sulfur water monitor looks like. Does it get just white like all the others, or
it's weird because it like doesn't, like you're saying, it doesn't turn white. It's just like it almost emphasizes the color. Like it takes everything and makes it a little brighter.
Right. It's almost like a hypo.
Yeah.
But, and again, like from my understanding with it is, you know, they change as they get bigger, of course. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not into genetics, so it's either T positive or T negative. But at any rate, I'm pretty sure, correct me, anybody, if I'm wrong, that they just turn into big white lizards, regardless if they're T positive, T negative, or those caramels. You know, I just wonder if that's going to prove out that way with the sulfurs too, because as babies, they look fantastic.
Yeah, they look incredible. Then that banding is even, besides the albino affecting it, like their banding is on point. It's really, really nice.
Yeah. Yeah, and I wonder, now that we're talking about it, I wonder if that's from Martin's stock.
I think it is.
It has to be.
I think I had that talk with them.
Yeah. Well, congratulations to the Bigger, Better Reptile boys. A bunch of nice young guys.
Very nice. So congrats to Nick and the Bigger, Better Reptile guys. Those are some big accomplishments for the United States for sure.
Yep. And one more shout out to the Bigger, Better Reptile guys. I just seen a video not too long ago tonight that was, they had some black dragons copulating, and a pair of coming eye, which were, very nice, copulating as well. So they're making moves, man. Good for you guys.
Yeah. It's probably the move. I mean, they moved down to Texas and they're finally, everything takes a little bit to adjust, like we all go through. And now they're going to start banging some stuff out, which is awesome.
Yeah, and it's crazy, too, because since they moved down there, one of the Bigger, Better Reptile boys, Marcin, he actually had a litter of his own. So congratulations to Marcin and Jess. Congratulations on your beautiful baby. And I believe I'm shutting up. Shutting up now.
Very cool. But nonetheless, let's get the man himself in here.
Who do we got?
The legend behind Iguana Land, Uncle Mike. The man himself, the monitor man. He takes care of everything. And I met him a long time ago, and he walked me through everything, showed me off to everything at Iguana Land. We had a great time. He's a great guy, so let's get him in here. What's going on, guys? So if you guys have been watching the podcast or anything Uncle Mike and I have been doing, I probably don't even need to say what I'm about to say, but let's be honest. Life gets busy, life gets crazy, and sometimes you just need a helpful reminder. And today, I'm here to be that helpful reminder. Get to USARK.org and get those annual subscriptions, or get to your local show and donate an animal or donate goods, anything you can to try to help. Again, anything helps. $5, whatever you can do, helps us. These legislators are trying to come for us when we're not paying attention and pass these laws, slip them in other bills, and really trying to catch us off guard so we can't keep these animals and we can't sit here and have a podcast about how to keep them. So don't let them do that to us, guys. We all are here for the same reason. If it's a ball python, if it's a monitor lizard, we all love reptiles. So let's keep it together, stay a community, and get behind USARK, someone that has our backs. Let's have theirs. Can you hear me now?
Yep, loud and clear.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, the whole time I was just listening to Mike.
I was like, hey, Joe, and you weren't answering, so makes sense.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's all good.
Well, Joe, I know you and Nicky Nick have met. I have never met you, but I just want to say it's an honor to have you on here. The guy, the muscle behind, the all the good things that happen over there. I mean, I'm not taking nothing away from Ty, but I don't see no blood and stuff under his fingernails because you're hands on. So
he gets hands on every now and then, but thank you for the kind words. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah. No problem.
He hit the lottery when he found you, Joe, or when you found him.
Thank you. I begged and begged for my position, so I feel the same.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure at this point Ty would agree with me saying that you may have did what you had to do to get in there, but I think you're in now, and I don't think he's looking to get rid of you because, you do a lot over there. You do a lot over there. But listen,
Thank
Joe, I want people to get familiar with you a little bit. So you live down there in Punta Gorda.
Yep.
Is that where you're always from?
No, so I'm originally from Fort Myers, Florida, so
Okay.
just south of Punta Gorda.
Okay. And if you don't mind me asking, I mean, you're no lady. How old are you?
I am 28.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
Nice. So you got your whole life ahead of you. And
Yeah,
Uncle
yeah,
Mike is jealous.
Yeah,
Uncle Mike, you're
I
like
still feel
33.
young, but
What are you
I'm
talking about?
starting to feel the years.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's weird
Well,
because once you get closer to 30, you do start feeling it.
Yeah. I'm dealing with a back issue right now, so we'll work through it.
yeah,
That's
unfortunately,
from carrying Ty. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm dealing with a front issue. I got this big thing in front of me and it just won't go away.
I'm not gonna lie, I was a little scared for what you were gonna say after you had a front issue. I'm like,
Well, Nicky Nick, you know better than that. You know my nickname, right?
there's a few. I'm scared which
Fish
one.
Can Stefani. Yeah. So,
I was afraid you were gonna say Big Daddy, but
no. Little Daddy. So so Joe, so you went down there and I'm sure breaking in with Ty wasn't the easiest. And I'm not, he's a very, he expects what he expects out of people. You know what I mean?
Yes.
He demands a high drive in people as he is himself, obviously.
Yep.
But that's all good. That's why I'm pretty sure your position is pretty secure. So like, tell me what it's like to wake up every morning, brush your teeth, scratch your sack, and go play with parentes.
Man, it's indescribable. I tell guests at the zoo all the time that I've never had a job where I wake up happier to go to work every day. It's a thrilling job. And I get to I get to work with some of the coolest animals out there, i.e. the parentes, amongst other things.
Yeah.
I can't believe that I get to put parentes in a list of cool animals, and they're not the only cool animal. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's amazing, man. The parentes are, I mean, first and foremost, they're stunning. It doesn't get much better than a parente in Florida sunshine.
Yep.
And they're massively intelligent. You can tell that they're thinking. And I mean, like, you can see that in all monitors, but I think parentes are like, the next step above. Like, they are really, really smart. They know what you're thinking. They know what you're planning to do, and then they plan off of that. It's amazing. It's amazing.
It's weird with that. I think it's like the apex predator, like they're the apex of Australia. So I think it's like a croc monitor. All those top tier animals just have that extra level of intelligence, and that's why they're the top.
And not only that, it's I mean, yes, you're comparing all the different monitor species. However, the whole genre of Varanus as a whole are apex predators, no matter which niche they're filling. If they're little insectivores in the Pilbara, or they're by the Nile River in Africa, these animals did not become apex predators simply. You know what I mean? They understand, and I try telling people this as far as socialization goes, and I hope I don't bore the people, but it's got to be said. So, like, literally, I tell people, if you had a bad day at work, or your wife's up there barking at you, before you go and deal with your animals, you gotta close your eyes and do it and clear all that aggression, that stress that you have in you, because these animals pick up on that. And they will act differently towards you if they feel that you're stressed or you got a scowl on your face. They're highly intelligent. So, and again, you're dealing with parentes. You got Croc monitors there. You got some of my Mertens, and like my Toji. It's another animal that's pretty rare. And
I like that Joe laughed when he said Toji, because he knows how crazy they are.
How do you like?
He's a little psycho.
Yeah. Now, is he? is he, now I worked with those things when I first got them. They were flighty and scared, and I kind of broke them of that. Is he approachable like when you feed him, or does he bolt and hide when people come around?
So I mean, you know, he's on display, of course. So he sees people all day, every day. But he's not very approachable. You know, when I open the cage to feed him, like, you know, if I reached out and tried to touch him, he would not allow that at all.
Right.
But I can absolutely feed him with ease. You know, I can run him all around the cage. You know, make sure he's getting his exercise and all that. But he's, you know, it's I don't go out of my way to try to socialize him. You know, it's just he's a little nervous of us, but he's doing great.
Well, I want to say, Joe, the thing that like I keep forgetting, and I'm sure people watching this not
you know.
thinking, sorry, Joe, it's not normally like this.
No worries, no worries. Hey, I've
one
got
of
all
those
night.
days. Yep. No, I was just gonna say that people forget that you're outside. Like a lot of monitor keepers aren't dealing with an animal at full blast like that.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to say that.
I was gonna mention that, you know, it's a big difference when you take an indoor animal, you know, like in the basement in Wisconsin, and then bring them to Florida, you know, and they're on full display, full blast sun. You know, it's a
There's
different.
not many
it's a
keepers
different.
that do that. I mean, there's a few in Florida that I can think of, but like most monitor keepers are indoors, and then that goes with breeding and everything else. But you're dealing with a monitor, and it's basically natural habitat on level 100 all the time. So the progress that you're making is incredible. That you're even able to get like as close as you get to those Croc monitors and stuff like that. It blows my mind.
Well, you know, Scarface, I can't take any credit for that. That's all. That's all Tom. Tom Crutchfield. That animal is amazing. You know, he's.
He was great. I had the pleasure of meeting him once too. The Scarface and Tom.
Scarface is fantastic. Then we have three others. We have Lucy and Ethel, the two females, and then we have another male as well. But the two females, we just got those from Nashville, Nashville Zoo, and they're both pretty good. You know, I can maneuver around them with
really
little to no issues. Now Lucy, she's not as approachable as Ethel. Ethel she's a sweetheart. I mean, I've posted videos of her. She's, you know, she'll crawl right up my legs. You know, she's awesome. Lucy is a little more worrisome. You know, I gotta kind of watch where I step with her. But you know, she's not going out of her way to get me. You know, there's been a couple times where, you know, feeding response got in the way. You know, she went for my boots a couple times, but luckily I wear steel toes. She's never actually tried to bite me, but you know, that you know, you're walking into their enclosure and they're like, every little movement is like, what's that? So
feeding time changes everything.
Yeah. But other than that, they're great. You know.
So let me interrupt because I was off. Lucy and Ethel, the parentes.
Crocs.
No, so those are the Crocs. We have two male parentes. We have Erwin and Geo.
Okay.
You know me, Uncle Mike. You leave me alone, I start talking about Crocs. That's what.
Hey, man, that's hey, you guys do the show, man. That's what it's all about.
What I was saying, you missed it, Uncle Mike. But what I said is like, we're forgetting that he's outside and has to work with these animals at level 100 all the time. That like not many monitor keepers do. I mean, we work with them and they're on their operating temperatures, obviously, but they're not outside. That's a whole different animal.
Yeah, there's something about that natural light that really, you know, they pick it up in their perianal eye, and it does something more to them. And it's, I mean, that's you know, that's long been a fact. I know, you know, I remember back in the day, people with their tegus, you know, they're these, you know, and people would think because of the pet trade that, you know, tegus are these big lumbersome creatures that just kind of plod around. And then you see one on the loose in the wild in Florida, that sucker will chase you up a tree, man. No hesitation. So, yeah, the outside really does something to these animals.
Definitely. And that's what I was saying, the ground that he made with like these Croc monitors, and he's able to get this close to them is incredible because I have animals indoors that I can't get that close to.
Well, you know what? And it also, when you talk about the psyche of these animals, those cages that you're working with there, Joe, those Croc monitors are able to get well above your head, and that really, settles them in.
I think that's one of the most important thing for Crocs. They need height.
Yeah.
And I remember watching you when you first got them, man, and it was honestly, from my perspective, it was scary, but I have to give you credit where it's due. You had the confidence to just stand your ground and work with them, and that's why they're not afraid of you. It's because you don't fear them like that, and you need to have that to work with an animal of that capacity.
I have a video that I posted of a different Croc monitor where a bunch of people got on my ass about it, and looking back on it today, I would not have approached that animal the way I did. He was obviously pretty sick of me at that point, and I'm still just being a dummy and whatnot. But I've left that video up to hopefully show my growth, because like I said, looking back on that video, it's just all embarrassment. But again, that's a completely different animal. The animals we've got today are much better off.
Well, let me interrupt you, Joe. Much respect for your reasoning behind keeping that up. A lot of people would, they would take that down, and they would start up where you're in the position you're at now, rather than showing your growth. And that's being transparent, which is a lot more of what we need in the reptile community. However, I just had a conversation with somebody, a Croc monitor, and it was just on Instagram, and he was working with them with big hockey gloves or welding gloves or whatever. But as he was talking about what he was doing, it is what it is. And he said, he goes, I won't post it, but I can send you the link of when it bit me and what that looks like. I'm like, so I put the comment on there. I just said, thank you for not sharing that, on social media, because, we got people who love this stuff, and we got people who want to take it all away from us. So things like that hurt us, and we do it to ourselves. So I was really happy and proud that guy did not post the video that would have got him 1 million likes or views, So good for you, Joe.
Yeah, good for you, Joe. And I mean, I've done similar things too. We've all done it. You got to start somewhere to get anywhere. You got to learn. And I've learned in the last year with the Crocs a bunch of stuff. I've known my boundaries, my range with them, because they leap forward. If they want something, they fly forward, which is like you got to know your distance between them. And just with pairing them and everything else. So like I said, you got to learn. That's just part of it. So I wouldn't be ashamed, and I give you credit because I probably would be the guy to take it down. So I give you credit for leaving that up.
Well, thank you.
Yep. So Joe, like, what's your daily schedule? Because you live there, right? You live on property.
Yeah, I'm at the zoo right now. So there's 2 houses on property. Ty has a house, and I have a house. I live here with my family. I've got a fiance and a daughter here. And then, so my day, I wake up in the morning, and then the first thing I start out with every morning is the monitor waters. There's a lot of them, so it takes up a good portion of my morning. And then from there, to be honest, it's up in the air. Working at the zoo, you never know what's going to come up that day. Like of course we have all of our events and tours and encounters and things like that scheduled, but we also sell encounters on the spot and things like that. And then one of the most important parts about my job is interacting with our guests. Being out there educating, sharing my passion. So there's some days where if everything worked out, I'd do the waters, I'd prep my food, I'd feed, and then I'd spend the rest of the day with guests. But some days it's completely backwards. So that's the gist of it, I suppose. It's a lot of changing waters, feeding animals, interacting with guests, tours, encounters, whatever it be, but in any order, just depending on the day.
And I know Ty has a ton of stuff, and I know you guys take care of a lot of stuff down there. It's not just you, right? There's other people helping you, or is it mostly you doing everything?
So it's definitely not just me. I cannot take credit for the whole shebang. So, but we do have a skeleton crew. You know, we've
Yeah.
got a pretty small team.
Mhm.
I'm the lead keeper, and then I have a senior keeper below me, and then two swing keepers, and also the Chelonian keeper.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's it for keepers. Then we've got a couple people that work the gift shop, including Sarai. I don't know if you guys know who Sarai is. She is the
Yeah.
glue.
I don't think I
She
met
is an
her.
amazing.
Yeah,
Well, you
she's the
got to
one
meet
who
her when
does
you
all
come
the
down.
planting and she does all like the
She
beautifying
does
and
a little bit of
planting.
everything.
Yeah.
She is an amazing person. She does so much, and she deserves her flowers.
Very cool. Very cool. Because I know he has a ton. I mean, you said a Chelonian keeper. That just shows you how many Chelonians Ty has. It's
Yeah.
just a specific keeper for all of the Chelonians.
I
But
think
I know
it's like
that's his
140
passion.
species.
So now let me ask you this, Joe. And I already know the answer. I'm sure of it. I'm sure it's all hands on deck when storms blow through and keeping animals outside. Like, I know a lot of people who have attempted it, some who do it, and I'm basically talking in the United States now. Not always the easiest thing to do because, to breed these animals in captivity where we control everything, the humidity, the lights, the heat, feeding, everything. Like you do that as well in captivity, but you're outside. So you don't really have control over, if a storm blows in for 3 days and it's, now it's 70 degrees all day for 3-4 days, that kind of throws off breeding cycles and stuff. So,
Yeah.
big props to you guys for doing that outside. But yeah, like I said, I would imagine it's a job when you guys hear a storm is coming through. I'm sure there's a lot of work to be done.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a big deal every single time, and it's tough because as soon as we get word of a storm, that's a week out. We can't just
Yeah.
shut down and
Yeah.
start bringing everything inside. So we've got to kind of play it by ear and wait. So
I
the
never
worst
thought of
one that
that.
I've seen, the worst one I've seen was Hurricane Ian. That was what, in 23 or 24 or something like that.
Mhm.
And that was a Cat 4, Cat 5. It was devastating, and the whole buildup to landfall until about 2 days before, it was being shown as going straight towards Tampa. It was going to be the first storm to hit Tampa in like 100 years.
Mhm.
Out of nowhere, it took a right turn right as it was passing Lee and Charlotte County. Charlotte County is where we are, and we had to jump on the ball and get everything going. It was all hands on deck for that entire 2 days. I mean, I remember me, Ty, and a couple other people being outside until the storm started, until it got too dangerous to be outside. And now, of course, at that point, we had the animals boxed up. We were just trying to tie down
Yeah.
things, bring in material and things like that. And then we were back outside again when the eye hit. 'Cause you get the little bit of calm in the eye of the storm.
Yep.
And we took a pretty direct hit, so we had a long calm. That was a huge storm, and it was very slow moving as well. That was a 10-hour long hurricane, the longest I've ever experienced in my life.
Mhm.
And so we were out there for a good amount of time in the eye of the storm, double checking things, the whole nine. And I remember, I remember yelling at Ty just at the top of my lungs, like, get inside,
Yeah.
because like unbeknownst to him, he's walking probably a good 20 feet ahead of me. And this is as the other wall of the eyes coming through. And the dirty side of the storm is called the dirty side for a reason. It's breaking loose all that stuff that the front side loosened up.
Yep.
Right.
And right between us, here comes a big sheet of sheet metal coming, blew
Wow.
right between us. Terrifying,
That's
like that.
crazy.
Could have sliced
If
you
we
in
were in
half.
a exactly, if we were in a different position, it could have been really bad.
Well, listen,
So yeah,
Joe,
I
I don't
remember yelling at Ty, get inside.
I don't
Yeah.
want to interrupt you, man, but you talking to two guys here who live in the snow and shit. So you say that so nonchalantly. Well, you know, and then you got the calm in the eye of the storm. How long of a calm did you have in that storm before? Because now you know the other side is coming.
Yeah, that's a crazy.
It was probably 45 minutes or so.
See, 45 minutes, I would think, yeah, let's just stay in for 45 minutes. I don't want to take a chance with the sheet metal, or you know what I mean?
But knowing Ty, you know Ty, he's like, all right, we got 45 minutes, and he's back out there.
Yeah.
He's a go, and I'm sure you're the same. But
oh my gosh,
that's some scary stuff. That is crazy.
Yeah. That sounds scary. So, Nick, you have went down there and met Joe before. You told me that like he gave you the grand tour and you know, really took care of you. So talk about a little bit about how he handles himself with the animals, you know, because I've been doing this stuff for so long. I'm like, I don't think of myself as an expert and stuff like that. I try to be as humble as I can. Sure, I do good stuff. But like if I happen to go into like Petco with my wife, who's, you know, for dog stuff, and the guy's like, oh, you know, I got a 10-gallon fish tank. I'm like, dude, don't talk to me, man. So it's hard, you know what I mean? So Nick, explain to me how professional he was and matter of fact, and you know what I mean, how believable and real was Joe? Because man, I hear good things about this guy.
Joe was the man, and I don't know, Joe. I think you started maybe like a year before that when I came down. But
I started in 2020.
2020. So when was I down there? I think it was 21 or 22. I don't remember because I went down and I'm wearing a shirt. I had to dig it out of the archives. In 17, I went down to the first Iguana Fest, and then I went down with my wife. Now, I think it was 21. So I think you just started within a year or two, and man, you were on the ball then. So I can only imagine now. And I knew someone that was working there previously. So he gave me like the Chelonian tour, and then you gave me the tour of the rest of the place. And I was just picking your brain about the Cyclura and the monitors. And you told me a lot about Cyclura, but I knew back then where your heart lied. So it's funny now to see how invested you are into the monitors.
You know, it's funny you say that because back then I was all about the Cyclura, you know, and I still am today. You know, like Cyclura are definitely still a big focus of mine. Like I just did a herpetology conference. I talked at a conference, and you know the focus was on Cyclura. But
congratulations on that, by the way, Joe.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Thank you. It was the scariest thing I've ever done.
I know the feeling.
So. You know, and it's cool to me to hear you guys talk about, or were you, Nick, my early days at the zoo, and seeing that I had a love for monitors back then, because I think at that time I didn't even realize, you know, like I thought they were really cool, and you know, that was about it, you know. But in these recent years,
it was that kindling fire. It was that little spark there. That before
you picked up on it.
Yeah.
Now gosh, I can't get enough of them. You know, I've been recently trying my hand at breeding. I've been producing the Sumbawas here at the zoo for a few years now. The Sumbawa water monitors.
And let me ask you, I don't mean to interrupt you, but hold that thought. Good. Now, the Sumbawas, are they at the indoor part of the zoo, or are those, you're breeding them outdoors?
They are outdoors.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So apart from the Sumbawas, I've done the Argus monitors, and I'm actually expecting eggs early next month from the Argus, and hopefully the Sumbawas too. I just haven't seen a lock yet, but I think she's progressing well. And then I don't know if Ty's posted this. I don't know if I'm going to get in trouble for saying this, but we're also going really hard for the Crocs. I haven't witnessed a lock yet, but Scarface has been trying his ass off. I've seen it, and she's not pushing them off either. So I think it's good signs.
I witnessed that. I don't know. It was probably one of the first pairings that you guys just recently did, and it looked very promising. I mean, there was no aggression from the male. The female was kind of rolling with it. It's just a matter of putting enough food in her to where she'll start throwing pheromones, put her head down, and let the male do his thing. You're getting real close. So,
and your enclosures are huge. So like someone like myself, if I were to try to breed them, there's only so much room the female can escape, where she has a lot more room to go. So it'll probably take a little longer, but he's gonna get it. I wish I saw the video. I didn't see it.
Yeah,
I'll send it to you.
Yeah, either Ty posted it or you posted it. I seen it somewhere.
What was
And
it? Just herky jerking towards her in the
no,
video?
it was more of like pursuit, where he was kind of half. What I remember is he was like half over her mid body, and she was still moving.
Oh, wow!
But she didn't turn around and hiss at him or nothing. He wasn't trying to slow her down. He was, he was pursuing her. He was courting her. So very good.
Yeah, I mean, if you're that far already, Joe, it's a matter of time. Because when I tried to pair, I have a few pairs of Crocs, and I've tried to pair before. And I mean, if they don't want to do it, right away. There's no bowing down, and the male won't even get close. I've had a male try to pursue a female, and he was double her size, and he had no chance. She chased him out of the cage.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, that's how it was when we first introduced Lucy to Scarface. Now I took Lucy into Scarface's enclosure, and I opened up the box, and she came out like a bullet. And and Scarface at this point didn't even know what was going on. He had seen, he had got to know her through the gate. They were side by side for a few months throughout the winter and into early spring. But he didn't realize what was even happening. And then this little firecracker comes out of the box, and at the moment she seen Scarface, it was on.
Yeah.
I don't think Ty posted a video of this because it got pretty hectic for a little bit.
I didn't see this.
Yeah. So I'm standing there, shivering in my boots with my water hose, ready to start spraying in case she got on him too hard.
Yeah.
But luckily, no teeth were involved. We got a little worried a few times, and then I would say it took probably about a week or so before we really started to see Lucy relax around Scarface, and then from there, I mean, they've been together for probably a few months now.
Wow.
It took another month or more for them to actually start like getting interested in each other.
It's weird.
Ty was at.
No, go ahead. It's weird that you say that because it seems like Crocs, if you pair water monitors, they'll almost go right into breeding within a couple of days if you time it right. But it seems like with people that are doing Crocs, they have an adjustment period where they're around each other a little more. From people that I've talked to, they spend the time with each other a couple of months before they actually start locking and breeding. And I don't know why that is. I'm just things are going in my brain as you're saying it. That there's 3 or 4 people that have done it the same exact way, and it takes a little adjustment for them. So you might see it anytime now.
So the advice that I'm going off of most heavily was Ari Flegel.
Yeah.
He used to work at Fort Worth, and he also used to work at Reptilandia, and I called him the moment we started talking about preparing these animals, because I was I think nervous, there's a good reason to be nervous about it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And
let me interrupt you, Joe, before this gets too deep, and then it may sound wrong. So I'm just curious as to why you bring her into his enclosure instead of him into hers.
It was just a matter of caging. Oh gosh,
His
what
cage
was
is
the
bigger.
reason? No, they're the same size enclosures. It was something along the lines of I think it was around the time where we had just got a new gator, and Lucy's enclosure had the bigger had the proper size pond for the size gator we were putting into it. So we just kind of had to try it. We weren't settled on it. If it went wrong, we were just gonna move her back. But we wanted to, we wanted to try it anyway. We were there. I was standing in there with a net and a water hose on the jet setting, ready to distract and remove if needed. But luckily none of that was needed. I mean, she scared the life out of me because she's chasing this 9-foot Croc monitor between my legs. And she's passing right behind him, and if you guys remember, Lucy was not the nicer of the 2 females, so I shivering in my boots for sure.
And then Scarface is one of Crutchfield's animals, correct?
Yes, correct.
Yeah. It went out. I don't want to, get into this too deep, but he had an incident with one of his Croc monitors that didn't turn out so good. Was that flashing through your head while you're dancing around Croc monitors?
Of course, images of Tom's finger, images of Croc monitor skulls.
Yeah,
it's so funny because I did the same thing. I'm like, man, if anything goes wrong right now, I got to get in the middle of it. But like, the thing that like nobody looks at is that might have happened to Tom, and it sucks that it happened to him. But how many eyes did he open by that happening?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I was I wouldn't have been as cautious if I didn't see those pictures in his story. Like, I had tongs instead of using myself in between those two animals. Like with water monitors, I'll jump in between them. I mean, a bite would still be terrible, but nothing like a Croc monitor.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, a Croc monitor bite, you run the risk of losing function of your body part.
Yeah.
Like if you don't get them those tendons and ligaments tied back up, you're not gonna have them. There's only a small window that you can repair them.
They might just take them.
Yeah, and there's when you're dealing with teeth like a Croc monitor, a lot of monitors. Let's not kid ourselves. A lot of monitors are capable of muscle, tendon, bone, and from what I understand too, like when it happens on the hand, they got to try to repair the nerves. So there's micro surgeries that have to take place. Otherwise, you're gonna have a cold hand. You know what I mean, or not have feeling in it. So dangerous stuff. You got to be very careful. And even when you are and well versed, like Tom is, and yourself and everybody else, things happen, man. These are very smart, intelligent, fast, reactive animals. And, like I was telling Nick, I was going to put OJ into my walking enclosure here. And he's close to 5 foot Togianus. And he earned his name OJ. And so I told Nicky Nick I was going to put him in my walking enclosure here. He goes, I said, I'll just get a food tray and use it for a shield. 2 days later in my mail, I get a knock on the door. It's, what is that, Amazon?
Yeah.
He sends me an OJ shield. So I got this big riot shield. But, again, I think I have plenty of confidence to work around them. However, like Tom, I'm getting a little, and Ty too, we're getting older and our reflexes aren't the same. And, when I'm down here working, I'm in slides and I see Tom's in flip-flops all the time.
Yeah.
Probably not the best thing to do when you're dealing with animals like that, especially introductions and stuff,
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
And especially how fast they move. I had a scare recently where I turned my back to one and I learned very quickly not to turn my back to one.
No.
Especially one I didn't know. Well, I don't want to talk badly on them because I have Croc monitors I could trust enough, but it was a new animal and I made a mistake. But thankfully, I didn't have to learn that hard. Just learn not to turn my back again. But
reverse out of every enclosure.
One thing I wanted to go back to, Joe, is when you said that they were tussling, but they weren't biting each other. It's so funny that, I mean, it's nature, but they have enough respect for each other to not bite each other. And I mean, I was the same way. I was shaking in my boots when I've paired Crocs before. And I was like, they're just going to go right to biting, but they won't. Nope. But they won't go to biting. That's like their last resort is to actually physically bite the other one.
Right. And that was my biggest fear, of course, especially pairing Scarface. I mean, one bite, he could end Lucy. She's not a small Croc female, but she's much smaller than Scarface. Yep. But so yeah, the what she was doing, to me it seemed like a dominance thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like when two dogs are in a little tussle and they're not necessarily biting each other, but like they'll be loud and then they'll stand over the other and try to gain dominance on top. That was all I seen. There was no teeth involved, just chasing and standing on top of Scarface. And in every instance, Scarface would back down.
Yep. And what's funny is like, yes, their instinct, they're ingrained. I mean, if they went to blows, tail thrashes, real ripping and real biting, there'd be none of them left. So
true.
They do understand how powerful they are, and once they can assert dominance, be it the way you're talking about, Joe, or being at ritualistic combat and the loser kind of waddles off, or even little Gil and I that do that dominance thing, they understand that wrestling and dominance, and they also understand, like a female, like we always say, female monitors of any species take life real serious. They want the best basking spot. They want the best digging spot. They want the best food, access to water. They want the best of everything, where male monitors are very St. Bernard-like. They're just do. They want food, and as long as they're basking a little bit over here, they're good. If they can get water, they're good. I don't think they take life as serious as females, who actually have to do the major portion of the work to continue the species, which is their whole goal. And so they also communicate through head bobs and the way they puff their head and arch their neck. We all know that. Now, what I noticed with when you have a good breeding, sometimes you pair too early and you'll see that kind of stuff. However, when the female is in a cycle and she knows she's in a cycle, she's smart enough and takes life serious enough to know, no matter what I do, he's coming buffalo at me because he just wants to breed. Yep. So when she knows she's throwing pheromones, she's not going to mess with that. They'll run away a little bit. They'll put their head down and they'll let that male climb on them with the herky jerk head. But it's when the males approach without that herky jerk head that really sets females off. So they're like, dude, unless you're here to do the deed, get away from me.
I could be wrong. I think like kind of with the spinulosus too, I think those Crocs almost go through a ritualistic combat, like on introduction, because I approach it as in the wild, they probably don't cross each other's paths that often. So they'd set dominance right away. And that's what I've seen with pairing different pairs, is like they need to hash it out first and then decide what's going on. And usually it's the female that goes after the male in every single time that I've done it.
And then there's some pairings, like Nick, I just tried to pair my 2-year-old captive born Toji's up, and the Kraken, that's the male I call him the Kraken. So, these Toji's ain't no joke. He went into the female's enclosure. He actually, when he first went in there, he started herky jerking, but he was too ambitious. And she was like, no, dude. So they never seen this before in water monitors. And I'm not saying Toji's are water monitors. They're more forest types, but they went belly to belly, ritualistic combating. And I was like, I was so happy that it didn't turn into a real major fight. But yeah, I was pretty, like you're talking about with the Crocs and splitting them up. And Tom, I had literally one shot at grabbing the male, and I reached in there afraid for my life. I was going to lose a finger, but I grabbed him off and the cage was already open and I threw him in there. But man, not all pairings go smooth. Then I took OJ Jr. When I removed him, I put OJ Jr. in there. He walked in there with the herky jerking head, and she's just like, wow, that's not the same dude. He's pretty cool. And they've been together ever since. So it's very tricky pairing. I know I tell people, they send me videos of, chasing and fighting. I'm like, it's not, either she's not ready or that's not a compatible pair. You should probably, not do that. And, that's the good thing. If you're just trying with, like, if you raise them up together, that's one thing. But if you have an adult coming eye and you grab a female coming eye that aren't aware of each other, you're taking a chance. They may be compatible, they may not. So I don't mean to go off on a tangent.
No, not at all.
No, I mean, I think it's a great tangent, because I'd like to ask you guys some questions about our coming eye pair, because we just got a male somewhat recently. And our female, she's been here my whole time at the zoo. She's never once seen a male. I've known her since she was, half her size now, and she's not a giant female. She's, an adult, but she's not giant. And she lays partho eggs left and right. She'll lay 2-3 clutches a year sometimes, depending on feeding.
Wow.
Well, so I did my due diligence. I got her to cycle, and then I went to introduce the new male. Did not go well. I had to separate them immediately. Like she immediately went after him. She's grabbing him and all that. So I'm a bit worried that they might just not be compatible.
They might not be. My best suggestion for that, Joe, is it's always a side-by-side cage with a pass-through that, like, not just a pass-through, like with they got to be able to see each other and smell each other. So I see a lot of people use like those blast gates and they drill holes in them. That's great for the scent. However, if they can't see each other, and I'm sure when we're not watching them, they're actually going nose to nose. It's just an easier way to do it. And if it's not going to happen, then you could easily cut them out too,
Yep.
Right. So that's how our cages are. Go ahead.
I had a similar experience with my gurus. My female was laying partho, and it's just one experience. So I'm going off of that one. And then I tried to introduce the male, and she was not having it. And I think it's like, I don't know, it's almost like a stronger female. Like she's like, I don't need you kind of thing. But she was definitely more leery of it, but then eventually gave in. And that was kind of where I was going with it, is I got a bigger male. How big is the male coming eye that you got? Is he smaller or is he about the same size?
I think that's probably a large part of the issue because he is a bit on the smaller side compared to her.
Yeah, she's
now,
just a dominant
he's definitely,
female.
He's definitely breeding size, but I think in the question of dominance, she's got it all day.
Yeah.
So
I think once he surpasses her, I think they'll go no problem.
Well, see, that's not necessarily to say that I wouldn't say, knowing this now, I wouldn't say that they're incompatible. What I would happen to say is they need to be side by side with the pass through where they can see and smell each other and not run over to, look through a little peephole, like a nice size hole that they could sit in front of and watch each other and keep feeding him good. Now, don't get him fat. Just keep feeding him good. Keep feeding your female the way you are. And as he grows, you'll start noticing when he's hanging around that hole a little more, he might start doing the little herky jerk.
Yeah.
Then you're pretty safe to say, because that what I've found is the quick long tongue flicks and the head bopping and herky jerking is almost the signal to the female saying, we're not fighting. Yeah. You're giving it up. And it takes a real dominant female to fight that off. I mean, I've rarely seen even big females resist when they see that head shirky jerking. They know what's coming. It's buffalo time, so they put their head down and they just let it happen. A good pairing, anyways.
Yeah, I haven't had a ton of like chest to chest or fighting or anything like that, but the ones that I did were always a smaller male, and I've had smaller males breed before, but I think the most problems I've had were me trying to introduce a male that wasn't ready. Or he might be ready, but she's not ready. She's like, get out of here, you little youngin'. Like, go do something else. Yeah. When you're older, come back.
Yeah.
So I think between all of those things, I think you'll hit it.
You gotta realize too that even animals, and when me and Nick say this, we talk about animals that we coast with. They're established pairs. There's not a lot, there's not a lot to worry about pairing them and nesting and all that stuff. But when you get to that point with your animals, it becomes very easy. But to get them to that point takes a lot of these introductions. And again, the pass through seems to be much better than the shock. Oh, wow, here's a male in my territory, or, a male sees a female in his territory. So also to let them, you'll see your female swell, and she's in a cycle, and that'll usually trigger your male to do the right kind of body language for the female, because the females, this is business for these animals. They're trying to continue their species, so they don't want to do it with a weaker male. You know what I'm saying? And that's what you see a lot too. Just got to have a male who's more, like I say this about females, a mature nester. And they're like, well, she had 2 clutches. She's mature nest. She's mature. I'm like, no, I don't mean mature like that. I mean mature like she knows the temperature she's looking for. She knows the humidity she's looking for. She knows the spot she's going to lay. So they're not going to waste all their time doing that, and maybe not maybe have a weak litter, a weak clutch, or weak babies. You know what I mean? They're all in it for business.
Definitely.
So Joe, before I ramble like an idiot, how you guys doing with the Mertens?
They're doing good. We're growing them slow. I've got to they're not bitey at all. They're not bitey at all. So that's always great,
They'll hiss at you and tail whip you.
Yeah, like crazy. Feeding them is always an event, because they're absolute psychos. The moment they smell any food, they're on the ball. They're doing backflips. It's a circus. But yeah, I mean, I love them. I think they're really cool, unique monitors, and I show them off on tours nowadays.
Yeah. Cool. So, it turned out to be a pair, correct?
Looks like it.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that I sent them a pair, and it's like you said, you're growing them slow. Trust me, I've raised lots and lots of them. They're just slow growers. That's just the way they are. I mean, you know how they are, Joe. They feed like maniacs.
Yeah.
They just grow slow.
It's crazy.
Yeah, they're great though. I love them. Send us more.
Yeah, well, you know what? I got a couple of clutches in there now. Oh, I wanted to say, and I have my 1.2 F1 that I just like. They're 4 years or 5 years old, Nick, somewhere like that.
Yeah, somewhere.
And they just started producing. I think I got the first good clutch from the smaller female, which is the prettiest one I've ever hatched, and then 2 clutches from the bigger female. But this 1.2 trio is for sale, man.
10-4. I'll run it by Ty and see what he says.
Yeah,
I'd love to take them in.
Yeah, and you know what? I'd love to donate them, but we're moving, so I would have to,
understand,
get some greenbacks from them. But
so Joe, out of everything that you keep, and stuff that you don't keep, what would be one thing you'd like to work with, or one thing continue to work with? Like, what's your favorite? I know it's a hard question because it's a hard one to answer.
Yeah, I work with 260 plus species, maybe not directly, but they're there. I can see them every day. Yep. There's a lot of stuff that pulls my interest. Definitely a lot of the imperiled species. We have Sequoyeh pinguis, the Anegata rock iguana. There's 10 in the United States. There's 600 in the wild. Yeah. They haven't been bred in the States since 2012. So that's a really big focus.
That is one of the weirdest reptiles I've ever been around in my life.
Yeah, I agree. They're really, really cool. I love getting to show them off, because nobody ever expects what they feel like.
Yeah, I remember you saying that to me. That moment sticks in my head forever.
Well, fill me in on it. What do they feel like?
Velvet.
I tell people it feels like my couch, and we're talking about an iguana. Yeah. Like it's amazing. They're so smooth, especially like right behind the head, at the nuchal crest. It's soft. It's so soft. You could cuddle this lizard and not have any scratches in the morning.
And it looks like scales, but when you touch it, it doesn't correlate with your brain. It just doesn't make sense.
That's crazy. I got to get down there.
Yeah, for sure. Also, I mean, how can I not list parentis in the Croc monitors? Mm-hmm. And then something you mentioned, Nick. You mentioned spinulosis. We no longer have them. We lost our pair. So I would really love to work with those again one day. But they're they've gotten pretty hard to find.
It's so crazy.
So
They used to be everywhere, and now you just
yeah,
don't see them.
What do
yep,
you
yeah.
suppose happened to him, Joe?
Wasn't there a law change? I thought there was a law
Oh,
change.
is that what did it for you? It wasn't like they passed.
Oh no, yeah, no, they passed. Ours passed away. It was their heater went out in the wintertime, unfortunately.
Oh, I see. But now getting more is when you say the law change. I got you.
Right. Yeah. Now it's more difficult to acquire them.
The good thing is the Solomons always do that, though. They close for a couple years and they open up again. So hopefully, I heard that some are coming in this year, but we'll see.
Cool. Yeah, I remember working with ours, and I mean, we talk about intelligence and reptiles. They're high up there. They're very high up there. I mean, the way you look at those little demon eyes that they have, like like you can see their thinking. It's really really cool. It's a great species.
The thing that freaks me
Definitely
out with
needs
them
to be
is,
worked out more.
oh, definitely. If you look at them head on, you can't see where they're looking. But if they turn like this, you can see where they're looking, as you can see the pupil.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
weird. Yep.
Yeah, spinulosis are definitely a favorite of mine for sure.
Yep. They're awesome. Hopefully someone gets them breeding this year. There's quite a few people working with them now.
Fantastic. That'd be great.
Yeah. I was actually watching that podcast with Cody that he did on Reptile Talks right before this on my way home.
Cody?
Is it Cody? What's his name, Uncle Mike?
Cody Cobb?
No, not Cody Cobb. It's God, Cole. I always say Cody.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, I was Cole Chapman, right?
Yeah, Cole Chapman. Yeah. I talked to him this week on the phone, and then I was watching the podcast, and it's so interesting because that area of the Solomons only stays 80 degrees. Like it fluctuates between like in the 80s, but like even at night, he was saying it's 82. So you got to basically maintain an ambient temperature with them, which I definitely wasn't. So now it kind of changed my way of keeping them.
Yeah, and with that being said, we kept ours, outdoors. We kept ours outdoors year long, unless it got like super super cold, and then we'd pull them in. But most nights we left them outside with their heat box, and then either I or Ty would come out and check on everybody overnight.
It seems like that Indonesian stuff would rather tolerate cold than hot, like extreme hot temperatures.
That's actually when you were talking about losing the spinulosis, I was going to think what I was actually going to say to you. What do you think? Heat spike killed them or whatever? That's what I thought. So you had actually colder than normal.
Yeah. Well, so it was this was at least a year and a half, 2 years ago when we lost them. And I want to say it wasn't like a crazy cold night. It couldn't have been because we would have brought them inside at that point. But I remember, checking on them throughout the night. I probably did my last check around 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. Went back home for my few hours of sleep. And unfortunately, that morning when I got in, I found them both in the water tub. And they were still hanging on, but unfortunately they didn't come out of it. So it was unfortunate.
That's tough, man. I mean, it's never easy losing animals, and especially with such passion as yourself. It hurts. It hurts to lose animals like that.
Yeah.
But I wanted to say something. You said when it was your watch, and this one's for Ty. So when it was your watch, 1 o'clock in the morning, well, you get double time for that, right?
You get on the phone. You get on the phone with Ty right now. No, I don't get any extra pay for that. I clock in, of course, but yeah. I mean, how I look at it. I live on property. Ty is nice enough to allow me and my family to live here. I have pets. I have reptiles. And I don't pay for any utilities. I don't pay rent. I don't pay anything. I live for free, and I still get paid to work. So, I've never asked Ty like, hey, can I get time and a half for this extra few hours, or can I get double?
You're getting a lot of perks.
Exactly. Like I've got it really, really good here. You know, I'm
Yeah.
very, very blessed.
You're a loyal guy, Joe. I can tell. You're very
Plus,
loyal.
I see the way Ty feeds you sometimes.
That's Sarai. You got
Oh
man.
yeah.
When you guys get down here, you gotta try her cooking. She's you know, she's straight out of Thailand, and she brings that flavor here to Florida, and it's amazing.
That
I mean,
sounds
I have fell in love with Asian food, spicy foods. She's changed this little Caucasian boy.
I got to say something. I'm a monitor fanatic. My passion, but I don't want to eat the same thing they eat. I mean, I want my, if I'm eating fish, I want it cooked. I see the way Ty eats sometimes with that, you know, that, what do they call that?
Yeah, I couldn't do that.
Sushi, or like
Sushi.
raw fish. I couldn't do that, man.
No, I couldn't either.
Could not do that.
Just fish.
I'm
I can do
definitely-
anything else. I can't do fish.
I'm definitely picky when it comes to fish, and definitely sushi. I've got a few kind of rolls that I can eat 4 or 5 of them in a row, but yeah, with fish, it's got to be a mild fish for me.
Yeah,
But
me
that's
too.
you know that's the thing with Sarai. She doesn't cook fish often. You know, it's mostly like chicken, beef, pork. It's all yummy, yummy stuff. It's you can't get better.
And it sure beats McDonald's and Taco Bell. I know that.
Oh my gosh, by far. And the
Yeah,
cool
real
thing is
food.
she grows a lot of it. She grows a lot of her ingredients. You know, the spicy Thai chilies, she's growing them right outside in the garden out here.
Man,
You know,
that
the Thai
sounds good.
basil right outside. You know, it's
That's
amazing.
awesome.
That sounds good.
So at night
Yeah.
you're sneaking out and making yourself some.
You know what?
Getting me some fresh Nepales, some some. Yep.
Hey, Nick, that's a great point. And that brings me to this. Like, you know, I know how me and Nick are really, really close. So he knows I'm a chicken shit. I know he's a chicken shit. So, like, are you packing when you go out at 1 o'clock in the morning and you're sneaking around those cages? I mean, do you ever get prowlers or anyone who tries to like break in? You know, do you ever get that?
No, thankfully so. Thankfully not. It's something that of course is always on your mind. You know,
Absolutely.
I've got my eyes peeled every time I go outside. You know, I'm not just looking at the cages. I'm checking my surroundings. I'm checking the dark corners of the zoo, you know.
Yeah.
And then of course, you know, we've got surveillance and whatnot. And then I'd like to hope that multiple people living on property is a bit of a deterrent.
Yeah.
And then you know, I believe in the Second Amendment. I've got a few guns, so
My man.
so
Hey,
I hope
hey.
to be able to scare off anybody.
Joe, that's all me and Nick really wanted to know, because when we do come down there at Daytona, we were going to sneak on the property and wait for 1 in the morning and jump out of the bushes
Don't do
at
that.
you. But none of them
Don't
going
do
to get
that.
a hole in my chest. I'm good with
Mike,
that.
Uncle Mike, that plan's out.
That's out. Yeah. But I told you, Nick, that was a good plan you had there.
Yeah. I want to make it back to Pennsylvania after.
Absolutely.
No.
But yeah, so like, I mean, what about, okay, so we kind of touched on like all the things that you do, and you got the dream job, and then we were talking about prowlers, and how about wildlife? Do you have any native wildlife that encroaches in the, like, how do you guys deal with, we'll just say nighttime, like possums and whatever, that kind of stuff, and then I want to get into like fire ants and shit like that. So go ahead on the like the raccoons and stuff that may come in, wildlife.
So we're an outdoor facility. We absolutely have had some issues with raccoons, and rats and fire ants, amongst other things. Typically, possums aren't really that big of a deal to us. They're not necessarily going after our animals as much as you might expect. We've had a recent issue with this darn armadillo that's been tearing up the yard.
I wouldn't even think of that.
He refuses to leave. It makes it, he tears it up out there. But we're working on trapping him. And then hopefully just bringing him down the street or something will solve that issue.
Yeah,
Now
give
for
him some
raccoons,
exercise. Give him some exercise for when he comes back.
yeah. See, and that's what I was getting into with the raccoons. The raccoons are they're a different kind of problem. Now at first we absolutely tried to relocate. And then I started realizing the same half-tail raccoon kept coming back.
Mm.
And I recognized it because it had half of tail.
Yep.
So we had to euthanize that one. And then from there, we euthanized a handful more, and since then we've had very little issues. It was almost like there was like a little squad of like 5 or 6 raccoons in
Yep.
the area that knew the zoo had food and other fun stuff, so they'd come back every single night. But I go up to the zoo a lot of most nights, especially in the wintertime, every night. And I haven't heard a raccoon scurrying off in a long time.
Well, you got to remember
They're
that one
menacing
for
little
your. You got to remember that one for your resume, Joe. If you ever leave, that that you're versed in eradicating the
Vermin
raccoon
trapping.
mafia. Yeah, the raccoon mafia. You dealt with the whole family.
Yeah.
We deal with them up here too. They like to grab my mom's ducks and eat them. They're evil little creatures.
Poor little Sarai. She lost her whole little flock of chickens because of them.
To a raccoon.
Another animal. Yeah, raccoon. Raccoon came in and ruined everything.
Man.
Another animal we've seen, although not very common at all. I've seen them in the area, but to see them on property is another thing. Are the coyotes? I've only ever seen maybe 2 on the property. Never actually around enclosures, so that's good. They keep it moving. Another big thing we had happen was an otter. Actually, an otter came through and wiped us out. Excuse excuse me, wiped out our koi pond, and it was like a month long struggle with this damn otter. We had traps, we had game cams set up everywhere, and I couldn't catch anything in these traps other than the typical raccoon or whatever, or this gator. I caught the same gator 4 times in a trap. Little 3-foot gator kept getting stuck in a possum trap. The big one, better, more of a size of like a bobcat trap. But anyway, after about a month, things quieted down. I think just given their natural behavior, it was likely a male otter, and he had his fill and he moved on. So we haven't had any issues with that since.
You see a lot
and
of
then
cats
the
down there?
bobcats.
You see cats down there a lot?
Domestic cats, not really. Bobcats, yes, for sure. Panthers, never actually seen them in person, but they're definitely in the area.
Yeah.
The biggest Florida panther ever recorded was actually recorded less than 10 miles away from the zoo. So
That's
it's scary, but it's cool as well.
Yeah, definitely.
I've lived in Florida my whole life. I've only ever seen 2. And I don't even have a picture of either one.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
how do you deal with so otters, raccoons, things like that? I'm just asking a question. And I don't mean like a freaking Rottweiler or one of them Belgian Malinois. But what if you had something like a Great Pyrenees that's actually good with people, but they also will guard their, did you guys ever think about putting a dog out there? And again, I don't mean like a killer attack dog, just like an alert dog or like a Great Pyrenees who would take care of the raccoons and stuff.
It's definitely something Ty has brought up to me before. But it's a bit of like a logistics issue,
because of the people
like
coming and going.
right, exactly. So I mean, just the simple fact of having a like a livestock guardian dog, they're built to protect. So we can't have any accidents happen with any guests.
Yep.
So that would mean keeping it away from guests all day and keeping it isolated, and maybe not the best life for it, especially if you're pulling it away from the animals that it's protecting. So yeah, it was something we've considered, but it's something we haven't pulled the trigger on.
It might be a liability.
Yeah,
I
I just don't
that.
know.
But I also know and love dogs, and I think like a Great Pyrenees that actually loves and protects people would even if you had young guests coming through, he Great Pyrenees most likely would not mess with, you know, a kid having a tantrum or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So there's none of that. Like a pit bull would definitely hone in on a kid screaming and yelling, where a Great Pyrenees would just kind of like, the kid's having a bad day, leave it alone. But when the lights go out at night, you know, that he's going to work. And then if a troublemaker kid happened to jump the fence, now the Pyrenees might be a liability because they, they protect.
Yeah.
And I get it, but if you have no trespassing signs and you know, beware of dog, man, you jump the fence, you know, would you rather get bit by the Great Pyrenees or shot by Joe? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And what's going on, guys? So when it comes to husbandry, I can't think of anything more important than your feeders. What you're putting through your animal, but not only that, what's going through the animal that's about to go through your animal. There's a lot of steps to it, and if you're not farming it yourself, it can be very hard to find someone you could trust. So let me take the guesswork out for you. Kleinsfeeders.com is the best that I've found. It's who I use. It's who Uncle Mike uses. It's someone I know personally. It's family owned. They've been doing this since 2008, guys. 18 years. They know what they're doing. They've fine-tuned and perfected it throughout their farms, and I have nothing to complain about. I've had nothing but positive experience with Brendan and his family. They are the best out there. And the best part is they're in the United States. Don't buy from these guys because they're getting them from China and all overseas. And by the time they get here, who knows what those feeders are packed with. So don't mess around. Go to kleinsfeeders.com and feed the best you can. What's going on, guys? Whether you're a first-time shipper or a veteran to the industry, Reptiles to You has you covered. Reptiles to You has everything you need to ship your reptiles and invertebrates safely. From top-notch supplies to an industry-leading live customer service team, Reptiles to You is a one-stop shop that we've used and trusted for years. They've got options on their website for single-purchase shipping kits or bulk options for all the best supplies to use if you're a breeder that ships out larger volumes at a time or just a box here and there. And of course, you can create your own shipping labels on their website at the lowest rates in company history. Part of providing the best for our animals is also ensuring that they travel safely to their new homes. And there's no team better than that, than the people at Reptiles to You. So guys, if you're looking to partner with the best in the industry, it's an easy choice. I did it a long time ago and I never looked back. Follow the link in the description and join the Reptiles to You family today.
Yeah.
And I think at that point, that's on them once they go over the fence. That's that
for sure. Especially in Florida.
Yeah, you guys have great laws for that.
Castle Doctrine and all that. I tell people that dogs are my first love and reptiles are my passion. You know, I'd love to have a dog around, but I just, you know, that's more of Ty's decision to make.
Yeah, that's definitely something to be considering when you have such a public facility. And I get it. But
the Pyrenees would be a great animal. The only thing I just thought of as I was saying that is the heat. You'd have to shave that thing pretty often.
Yeah. Or you know what? If he had a spot in the gift shop where a fan, you know, where it's a little cooler or whatever, more comfortable, he'd probably just hang around there all day until the sun went down.
They are incredible dogs, though. They will guard anything and anything.
Yep. And very, very not dumb, very selective. No. They know what they should and shouldn't protect for. They're just
absolutely.
So even if you did so you go out, you got your gun, you got your Great Pyrenees now. You think you're good, right? And then all of a sudden comes the bullet ants and the fire ants and the pogo sticks. What do you do about all that stuff, Joe?
So we stay on top of them, you know, especially with how many guests we have coming through the zoo. You know, it kind of ruins the trip if you know, if your little kid gets mauled by fire ants.
Yeah.
So we try to stay on top of it, you know, especially right now as, you know, we're finally getting some rain down here, and that brings them out of the woodwork. Yeah. So we stay on top of it, and then inside the enclosures, that's where it gets a little problematic, you know, because treating the mound can be, you know, a little bit of an issue for the animals. Yep. So what we've learned to do is I'll take a couple buckets, I'll shovel the main portion of the mound above the ground into a bucket. That bucket joking, get set on fire. And then we treat the mound from there, and then we cover it with a thick layer of mulch to prevent the animals from getting into the mound. And then, of course, these animals are intelligent. They avoid the ants for the most part. It's really like the baby animals that you got to really worry about.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, that's it. That's about it.
I know you. I
Try to
know
treat them
Ty,
as best as we can.
Ty gets stung like 10 times a year by the bees too. What are
It's
they?
not the
The wasp.
bees.
The
It's
wasps.
the wasps.
Yeah, yeah.
My gosh, man. So, a lot of our enclosures are made of hollow aluminum.
Oh yeah.
Perfect little hiding spot for these wasps. And of course, we try to stay on top of it. Whenever we see them, we spray them.
Mhm.
But man, there is this. I mean, Ty just got stung the other day. Now that I'm thinking about it, he just got
Yeah.
stung on the finger. And my first instinct was, "Where's the nest, Ty?" And he's like, "Oh, that's the thing. It just
Yeah.
stung me." You
Yeah.
know. Um, there was this one time last year. I was opening up a door first thing in the morning to do monitor water, and I didn't even know what was happening. Something just landed on my nose, and I was trying to be
Oh.
delicate. Didn't know what it was. I was just trying to gently shoo it
Yeah.
away.
Yep.
Turns out it was a wasp. It stung me right there on the bridge of the nose. Man, talk about pain. Like, wasp stings are bad. Like you get hit in the leg, and it takes like a minute or two to really get to max pain. It kind of builds for a
Yep.
second.
Yeah.
Man, it was instantaneous. As soon as it hit me, I was on fire, rolling around on the ground. And
So
it
how
lasted
many?
for a solid 20 minutes. It was ridiculous.
So I know that's a lingering type sting.
Mhm.
How many days did they call you Rudolph for?
Thankfully, I think because they got me right on the cartilage, I didn't have any
Oh,
swelling. Yeah,
Wow.
in the moment, now I'm calling my fiance and I'm like, hey, go get me Benadryl right now. Like I was
right.
thinking, my airways were gonna start closing because I already swell up pretty bad for the
Yeah, me
wasp
too.
Yeah.
stings. If I get stung on the hand, I've got a baseball mitt for like
Me
two,
too.
3 days.
Yeah. Well,
So yeah, I was very worried, but I think I got lucky with that one.
yeah.
That's great.
It's crazy. Like my whole life, just like you guys, my young days, I'm in the pond. I got leeches, all kinds of parasites and shit all over me, bee stings, ant bites, everything. I was good. I was actually working at a place called O'Hare Tropical, where it was a wholesale. We sold everything from hamsters, the birds, the goldfish, everything,
Yeah.
saltwater fish, everything. And I come into work one day, and my boss, Bill, he says, he goes, "Are you ready?" I'm like, "I'm always ready. I was born ready, right?" Because that was my favorite job ever. He goes, "Go back in the reptile room, and there's a big box that's 250 Brachypelma smithi in hermetically sealed bags. And what I had to do is cut the bag and shake them into deli cups." So I set up a little workstation, 250 of these things. Start cutting and shaking. Cutting. I got a light like over me so I could see what I'm doing. Cutting, shaking, cap, cut, shake, cap. And it was close to noon, my lunch hour. I'm like, oh man, I'm not feeling good, but I went to the hot dog stand or whatever. And I came back and I really wasn't feeling good. And as I was walking back to this workstation I made, the little heat lamp I had hanging over the spot, all you could see was the little hairs still floating in the air a half an hour later. And it just gave me the cringe. And then once I realized why I felt that way, it just hits you even harder. Since that day, Joe, I can't cut the grass without breaking out.
Oh man.
And then about 8 years ago, Nick, you remember the story, I think. About 8 years ago, I was in my in-laws' barn. Me and my son were moving some things. And there were these, they got all kinds of bees and wasps. But there were these bees. They were really small, and they wouldn't fly higher than like my knee, and they were ground nesters. So we're moving around in there, and all of a sudden I was like, wow. It felt like somebody put a cigarette out on the back of my leg, right? It was 98 degrees out, 99% humidity, August in Wisconsin here. And I was collecting giant logs for my enclosures. And I told my son, I'm like, there's this giant pile. It got to be about 10 feet tall, big logs like this. I'm like, I want that one, Ange. He goes, you want the one on the top? I'm like, yeah, I want the one that's the one I want. So he goes, Dad, we'll take other ones. I'm like, all right, get out of the way. So I started climbing up this thing. Now I'm sweating. I'm hot. I'm cranky. The back of my leg is burning. And all of a sudden, it's just like, I was like, everything just froze up on me. My chest, I had these tingles here. And, I worked outside my whole life doing concrete. So I went to the back of my Jeep and I put my head on the tailgate. And literally, I'm watching. It's real dusty dirt around the farm. I'm watching. I'm making a puddle from the sweat pouring off my forehead. All of a sudden, the sweat stopped, right? Just tingling in my chest. Last thing I remember is saying, I looked up at my son. I said, Ange, I want to go home. Face first in the dirt. I'm laying there in the dirt. I was passed out. And when I came to, my son Angelino was like pulling on me. I'm like, what are you doing? What am I doing in the dirt? He's like, you passed out, Dad. So I sat in the car. I'm sorry for going so long about this. No. This was scary. So I sat in the car with the air conditioner on, just blowing on me. And I'm holding the steering wheel like this. And I got my eyes closed. And this never happens at the farm. They got 187 acres. And we were in the back of it. And normally, when we come in, we say hi to the in-laws. And when we leave, we say goodbye to the in-laws. Well, she had some pears or some shit for me. So I'm sitting in the car and I'm going like this. And she comes up and she says, she's knocking on the window. And I was out. She's like, Mike, are you okay? No movement. She goes, are you praying? Nothing. She goes, I'm calling 911. So she called 911. And the next thing I remember is I woke up in the back of the ambulance. Oh, it was so cool in there. And I was like, I was on the gurney and I kept feeling, I'm blowing out, I'm breathing out, and something's pushing the air back in my face. And I wake up and I see the guy doing this with one of them bags on my face. I'm like, dude, I'm like, you suck, man. You're out of rhythm. So 20 minutes, he was puffing me up with that thing. I had, what is that? Anaphylactic.
Yeah, and anaphylactic shock.
I almost fucking died, man.
That's crazy.
Thing. Jeez, I was scared, man.
That's nuts.
So you can't mess around with that stuff,
You don't know how you're going to react.
I worry about the wasp because, I've been at the zoo for going on 6 years now, and I get stung. Geez, probably 20, 30 times a year. And I've noticed that my reactions are getting worse. So like my hand swells more. The pain lasts a little longer. Things I'm itchy. I'm viciously itchy for days afterwards. So yeah, I of course you can develop allergies. So
yes,
I'm a bit worried about that. I'm gonna invest in an EpiPen one of these days.
Well, you know what? They got this new stuff now because I carry one. I'm supposed to carry it around with me, but I don't. But they got this new shit now. It's called like Noose or something like that. Mm-hmm. So instead of injecting the EpiPen, you give a little shot in each nose and it goes away.
Well,
yeah.
Oh, wow.
I'm sure it's a lot more money, but.
Yeah, I should have that too because I'm like deathly allergic to the bees. I get all swollen, like you said, like super itchy, and definitely affects my breathing. But I haven't been stung in forever. If I see one, I'm like a little girl running the other way.
Yeah,
I hardly ever get stung by the bees, and we have bee boxes on property for most of the year. But the bees that they drop off are really, really docile. You can walk right up to the boxes and not have much of an issue. I remember one time though, I was on a tour. This was a couple years ago, and I was doing my tour, rocking around the enclosures, and I was carrying around a little energy drink. Well, I go to take a swig of my energy drink. Something was in that drink in my mouth, and before I could spit it out, it stung me right on the roof of the mouth. It was a honeybee, So, I've got the stinger in the roof of my mouth. Crazy, crazy pain. It was a really weird area of the body to feel that sort of
Yeah.
pain.
Hell
So
yeah.
I run home. Again, I'm on property, so I run home real quick. I lay on the couch. I got my head hanging off the couch. My fiance's digging the digging the stinger out of my mouth with some tweezers, and back to the tour. Had to shake
Wow.
it off.
That's crazy.
Uh, yeah, I do not recommend it.
Well, that's
Another one where
kind
I
of
was like, man, I'm gonna swell up.
So
well, that's
the,
good
the,
good
the
segue.
wasp,
So, go ahead,
the
Uncle Nick.
wasps, I'm sorry, Nick.
No, go ahead.
The like, everyone, especially regionally, it's all different. Everybody. So here, they're known as sweat bees or yellow jackets. Is that the ones you're talking about that are troublesome? You call them wasps. They're the ones that hang around your pop can and the garbage cans and things like that, right?
So we've got the European honeybee, of
Yeah,
course,
no, those are
and then
good.
we've got the red paper wasp, and then we have a species of yellow jacket. So from
Okay.
what I understand, I'm not an invert guy, but there's a bunch of
Yeah.
different species of wasps out there. There's probably like a northern species and a southern
Yeah.
species, maybe even a Florida species. I'm not
Yeah.
positive, but we've got yellow
Yeah.
jackets. Yellow jackets are no joke. But primarily the issue we have at the zoo are the red paper wasps.
Wow.
um, but the yellow jackets, I when I was growing up, I grew up in a town in Florida. But anyway, it was a pretty woodsy area, and across the street was a gopher tortoise, and I'd go over there and harass this poor tortoise all day. And unbeknownst to me, there was a nest of yellow jackets nearby, and I ended up stepping on the nest. They were in the ground, and I got swarmed. I was probably 6 or 7 years old, and they go for the head and the face
Yeah.
primarily. So I got swarmed. I remember running inside, just screaming my lungs out. My dad, my stepmom at the time, just, what happened? I couldn't even get it out.
Yeah.
Horrible, horrible, horrible. I'm a firm believer that everything belongs, but wasps, they
Yeah.
they got to move.
Yeah.
They got to move next door.
I'm with you. The one that got me really bad last time, it was I don't even know what it is. It was a black bee with a really long body and then like this big stinger on the end. They came out of the ground
Sounds like
though.
a hornet.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like a one of them tarantula hawks or something.
Yeah.
Those are scary. They've got one of the worst stings out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was brutal on my hand, and it swelled up like almost instantly. Big
Yeah,
sausage
yeah.
fingers. Yeah, that was bad.
Yeah.
But I was going to ask you, Joe, with the tours and doing all that and running the tours, did you have any like prior experience doing something like that? Like just telling people about all these crazy animals?
So, I mean, my whole life I've been a reptile nerd. Um, so like, and I always wanted to share what I
Yeah.
knew,
Yeah.
even if people were pretty unwilling back then.
Yeah.
But now I've got a job where they come here to get the tour. They come here to listen to my spiel. So I've grown into it a bit. Um, it's pretty nerve-wracking to begin with, and like you still have those days where it's just
Yeah.
like, man, like I feel awkward this entire tour,
Yeah.
or like where, because like with a lot of the times, like my tours are pretty uniform. I try to give everybody the same sort of experience. That
Yeah.
way it's cool and fun for everybody. But yeah, you get comfortable. You figure out like the digestible information that like the kids can handle, the adults can handle.
Yeah.
You work in your jokes and your little
Yeah.
little stories in between.
Mhm.
And then it becomes really fun. I've got a lot of people that that give me really high praise, and that's really cool. I think I'm just a nerd. And I get really nice compliments sometimes. So
You know
it's
what,
it's
Joe?
it's
That's
super
a
fun.
special skill, man. That really is. It's a hard skill to master. And I mean, it's one thing because that's why I was asking, because you get into the reptiles because you love reptiles. But did you ever picture yourself doing that? Because, I mean, honestly, it's something I know I would struggle with getting into it. But I
It's
guess once you get
something
the rhythm, like you said, it gets easier.
it's something I always wanted to do.
Mhm.
I didn't necessarily think I would actually be doing it. you know, but I grew up on, you know, Steve Irwin and Jeff Corin and whatnot. So, so seeing those people, I wanted to emulate that in some way, shape, or form. And you know, I'm not exactly as flashy as them, but you know, I don't think that's necessary.
No.
And then
You
you
mean you
know,
don't see an
again, working
alligator
for
running across the yard and go jump on it and go crikey?
I've got a story for an alligator at the zoo too. I'll tell you guys later.
Yeah,
But yeah, you know, it just it comes with time, and then you know, working for Ty, he doesn't give you much time. It's get in
yeah,
there and get it done. You know,
Yep.
so I had to figure it out pretty quickly. I had a couple really awkward tours, and then I found a rhythm, and I've been going since.
I
yeah.
was gonna
Um,
say I was gonna say uh you're a very good person to be in the forefront giving out a tour like that. Your authenticity, your passion, and just your demeanor. You know, you come off as, you know, that you want people to learn. And personally, I think what you're doing, like I don't know, I forget exactly what it is that you said, but man, you're doing a valuable service for the youth in this country, or not only the country, for whoever comes, you know, people come from around the world to see Iguana Land. That you're very you're very have a pleasing way about you to put people at ease with things that, you know, a lot of people are afraid of these animals. But
yep.
like I was saying, your demeanor and the way you come across, your knowledge and the way you speak, you're doing something special there. So good for you.
Yeah, you know, that's the best part about my job. I mean, other than working with really cool species, I get to share my passion. You know, I get to pass my passion down to the next generation, or even to the older generations. You know, I
Absolutely.
can't tell you how many people come in and they say the old line of the only good snake is a dead snake. You know, and then by the end of our tour, they've got pictures with 4 different species of snakes. They've got one around their neck. You know, I've got this one couple. They're volunteers at this point. You know, they became so regular that now they work for us basically.
That's crazy.
Their names are Jen and Ken, and Jen was kind of into reptiles. You know, she had a bearded dragon and whatnot, and I think that was about it. But Ken was so anti-snake, you know. But they came back and came back and came back and came back. And to make a long story short, Ken has 2 pet snakes now. You
Wow.
know, so it's really fun getting to watch that growth and to be a part of that growth. You know, it's
Absolutely.
it's 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 the best. And then, you know, another cool thing I just did recently, I just got to go to my daughter's classroom. She's in pre-K, and I got to bring a few animals to the classroom.
That's cool.
My daughter's most recent birthday, we did it at the zoo, and all the kids from her classroom came to the zoo, and I got to show off, you know, what I do there. And it's great, man. It's the coolest thing ever. I can't and like I try to be humble about it, but like I can't deny that it's the coolest job I could ever have.
You know
Yeah.
what's funny? When your daughter, as she grows up, you know, it's great. The accountant comes in and teaches the kids a little bit about banking or this or that, but they are never going to forget you, and they're never going to forget what you're about. So, you know, whether they're into it or they're not into it, your kid is, you know, probably the coolest kid. She's got the coolest dad in school.
Definitely.
Yeah, yeah. I had my one of my coworkers, Karen, after the birthday party. She's like, "Man, those other parents are gonna hate you. Like, how how do they stand up to the birthday party at the
Yeah.
zoo? You
Yeah.
know."
Yeah.
So yeah,
Not
it's
only
it's
just the zoo,
cool.
but their dad works there. That makes it
Or
Right?
all
Yeah.
more.
Right.
the ones that are, you got, you know, some might be into the accountant dad, and some are going to be like, what's your daughter's name?
Her name's Juliet.
Juliet. Wow, what a beautiful name too.
Thank you.
Look at Juliet's dad. You know, hey, mom, dad, can I get a tarantula? Or, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, but that's, hey, you know what? You gotta, if there's a kid like that, you know, I would hope that the parents would encourage that rather than try to subdue that. I mean, because a lot of times parents, they don't want, a lizard or a snake or whatever.
I
But
see it every day.
It really does. So, man, you got to let your kids grow. You got to let them, if that's, you got to let them do it, man. So it's good. Like I said, you're doing a great service.
Thank you. Yeah, and I see that every day. Like the kid will come in super excited about the animals. They'll, I'll show them a bunch of animals, and they're taught, and it happens all the time. They'll be like, oh yeah, I want a snake, but my mom just won't let me. And and then I look up at the mom, and near every time they're like, yep, absolutely not. Like I can support your interest, but we are not having a snake in this house. And it's like, guys, and I try my best to kind of, to educate and maybe and hopefully change a mind, and try to explain, like, look, like if your kid's interested, support that, like don't hinder that interest, that could grow into something amazing.
Right. He could
And
be the
not to
next Steve
mention
Irwin.
that, not to mention your damn house cat is gonna do 10 times more damage to you. Like a little corn snake in your daughter's bedroom is never gonna hurt anybody.
Nope.
And that's another thing. I just made a post today. Yesterday, me and my daughter were outside, and I found a little. Well, she found it actually. She found a little jumping spider, and so I picked it up. I showed her how sweet and inquisitive and personable they are. She had it crawling all over her. I posted a video of it, and in my caption I mentioned, I was like, I think fear is taught. Fear is fear now, and I don't take away from anybody's phobias. Like, of course, people are born with phobias. That's one thing. But the average person who says they have a phobia of this or that, like, no, you just have a passed down fear, that you can unlearn, that you can unlearn with education. The ignorance breeds fear, um, and I see it every day at the zoo. The kids will come in super excited, and it's the parents that are glued to the wall.
Yeah.
They've been
but at least they bring them to the zoo.
So let me ask you a question, Joe. The jumping spider that you found, was it Regalis by any chance?
Yeah, Phidippus Regalis.
Yeah, because
little male.
Yeah, I mean, I can remember as a kid, like I lived in a brick house, and in the spring and summer, they were literally, and the fall, they were literally, I could get 2 or 3 of them a day. I don't see them no more now, and people are selling them as pets. But when I did live in Florida, I lived in Central Florida for like 4 years, Merritt Island. Oh, man. Some of the jumping spiders and the crab spiders, like, that's Regalis. I mean, it's a cute spider. How can you not? But some of those crab spiders and them orchid spiders and them things down there Florida way, it kind of creeps you out a little bit, But they're cool.
Yeah, no.
So you guys are talking spiders, and that's all I'm thinking. I'm like, no, I can't do spiders.
Yeah, no, I mean, I won't lie. I won't lie. They definitely still give me the heebie-jeebies every now and again. I remember just the other day at work, I picked up a tub, and here comes this big, what are they called? Wolf spiders or wood spider, something like that. Legs span like 8 inches.
It's
long,
a huntsman. It's some type of huntsman.
Huntsman. It's a huntsman. Yes, you're absolutely right. And they're lightning fast, man. And it was a big, probably gravid female. Like when she hit my leg, you feel the impact.
Oh my God.
And then she takes up my leg. I start shaking my leg. I shake her off. She runs off, and like I had to like just let the shakes out for a second. Like
let me tell you a story.
Tarantulas.
Joe, let me tell you a story. So me and my first wife, we moved down to Florida. We got a couple of kids. And we, in Florida, like here, you'd have to go to like Steinhoffel's, this fancy, showroom. But down in Florida, like everything is like a storefront with a warehouse, like furniture stores and stuff.
Yeah.
So we're walking around this warehouse, and geez, this had to be in the early 90s. So all the Southwest motif, the cow skins and the, that kind of cowboy-y stuff that was real popular. So we're in this warehouse, and my wife sees this painting, man. It was huge, and it was like in an Indian basket with some feathers, and it was like way up at the top. And of course, my ex-old lady, I'm like, you got to pick the one all the way at the top. The guy got to get the lift out, and he gets the lift out. He picks up the picture, and he turns around like this, and I see this. I mean, this thing had to be this big.
Oh, man.
It was sitting on the back of the painting, and I'm like, oh. He's like, what? And this spider went, and because it was on a stretched canvas painting, you could hear this thing.
Hear the footprints. Yeah.
And then I'm like, dude, there's a giant spider on there. Nah, I'm like, what do you mean no? It's coming at your face. So he brings the painting down. Never seen the spider again. So when I went and hung that painting up in my house, like, you know, the video game Centipede? That's just ringing through my head. And I was like, deathly afraid that this thing was going to come out in the middle of the night and kill us all. It was, like you said, that so fast, and that tapping on the stretch canvas was bad. Not good.
What? Yeah. I said I was coming to Daytona this summer. I changed my mind.
Yeah. We could go find you a picture in the warehouse.
Yeah. I held one tarantula in my life, and I went like this, and I'm like, okay, take it back now. I'm not a spider guy. I don't mind them. I'm not like the guy that's going to kill spiders or nothing like that, but keep them at a distance.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I haven't had my daughter hold any of my tarantulas yet. I think that's going to take another few years before even I'm comfortable with that.
So what are you into? Poecilotheria? Is that the tarantulas of your liking?
You know, to be honest, Mike, I'm really not that into them. They just kind of fell into my lap, and I haven't got rid of them. I kind of like them now. You know,
what kind of spiders are you keeping, Joe?
I've got a Brazilian black. I've got a green bottle blue. I've got a curly hair, and I've got a Costa Rican striped knee.
I got you. The curly hairs are phenomenal. Great. That's my speed of spider. I'm really into the Brachypelma, the New World stuff. That's nice and slow and, you know, really methodical. Nothing that runs and jumps at you like this.
Yeah.
Hell no.
The green bottle blue, he's a handful, man. I got to be careful opening up his enclosure. Definitely. But my Brazilian black, she's a sweetheart. I mean, I just worked a friend through a bit of a fear. She's got a fear of spiders, and I mean, she used to like leave the room if I brought the spiders out. But she decided to face her fear. She just got a tattoo of a black widow on her arm. So I was like, dude, you got a spider tattoo. Like, now you have to take the next step.
Right.
And you know, we sat here and talked her through it, and you know, right here on my living room floor, and she ended up holding my tarantula, and she did fantastic.
Yeah, you know what, Joe? Good for you and good for her, because they're really not. I like even Nick. He's, you know, I know he's saying this stuff. He's not that scared of him, but you don't want to deal with him. That's fine. Yeah. But like Joe said, if you don't face it, you never know. You might actually. I mean, like Brachypelma smithi, Nick. It's like it's just. They don't do nothing. They crawl on you.
I'll hold the tarantula, but like that huntsman that you're talking about, just the name alone. The name alone, keep that thing away from me.
Yep.
I'll hold a widow. I'll hold a widow before I touch a huntsman.
Yeah. My grandpa actually got bit by a black widow when he lived in Texas. Yeah, he almost died. I was about to say, for the most part, they're babies. You know, like. You know, I used to go out and look for spiders, and you know, we have brown widows down here. They're invasive. They're from Africa, and all you got to do is just poke them. You poke them, they fall right into your hand in a little ball, and that's all they do. That's all they do. And I just thought about it, but I don't even know can a black widow kill you, or is that
I think it can
that he made up? Because I had to think about it. I'm like, it is my grandpa, and he likes to mess with me. So I'll be saying this 20 years later, and he's like, got him.
I think it can if you have a reaction.
Yeah.
From what I understand, the black widow is pretty dangerous.
Okay.
But what I understand, believe it or not, the brown widow is actually more toxic than the black widow, but it doesn't deliver nearly as much venom as the black widow does. So the black widow is still the more dangerous spider to get bit by.
And I think female widows on eggs are more aggressive than if they
Yeah,
weren't.
they can be
on an egg.
protective.
Yeah,
I've heard that too.
right.
Well,
Well,
even the brown recluse with Andrew.
oh my God,
That
Joe.
was disgusting.
we got a friend, Andrew Llewellyn. You might know him. He's a biologist. He's been on here, and literally the first time we had him on, he's coming back on, Nick. The first time we had him on, he's like, oh yeah, he's all crabby, and we're like, wow, what happened? He goes, oh, I almost lost my foot. Like, wow, what happened? Lawnmower? He goes, no, brown recluse, right? So I'm like, I know. I mean, here where we're at, the recluses are bad. If you get bit, they'll mess you up. Especially me with my allergy, it might kill me. But he sends a picture of what this thing did to his foot, bro.
Oh, God.
Imagine it turned his foot into a canoe.
Yeah.
The middle of his foot was gone. It was like this. All this meat was gone. Like you could see his tendon in there and stuff.
It was
bad. Keep me away from that stuff.
I wish I never looked at that picture. It's imprinted in my mind.
I know. Yeah.
It's so funny down here. You hear about brown recluses all the time, but they're not even native down here. But everybody and their mom has been bit by a brown recluse in their sleep or whatever, So it's funny to hear. It's interesting, not funny. It's definitely not funny. It's interesting to hear about a brown recluse bite that actually happened.
Yeah,
because I've heard that they're one of the bad ones. You don't want to get bit. Didn't know they were that bad though. I will say that.
The venom or the poison, the venom is like
necrotic.
It just eats your flesh until, however far, like if it bites you and you don't like, he was working, it was in his boot and it bit him and he was working. So like the longer it goes untreated, the necrotic just keeps growing. So you got to kind of cut it off.
Yep.
And it's bad, man.
He was messed up for months. He had that cast thing on the last time I saw him.
Yeah, I'm sure his foot ain't going to be right because I doubt that stuff grows back.
Yep.
No. That was going to say, I wonder what it looks like today. It's got to look pretty rough.
Oh, it's not that really even that old. So I would like to see what it is this time next year to see how it actually heals.
Yeah.
So, Joe, let me ask you a question. When I lived in Central Florida, my crazy ex-wife, right? She wanted the painting with the spider on it, right? I told her, I'm like, here's some money. I give her some money. I say, go get some plants for around the swimming pool. She comes back, got a nice palm tree, got this, that. I'm like, what the hell are we going to do with this? She's got a prickly pear cactus. I'm like, I got 2 kids. You can't put this by the pool. So I planted it in the front yard. And by the time we left 4 years later, that thing took up the whole window. We were getting those prickly pears off of it, beautiful yellow flowers.
Nice.
Well, when we first moved there, now I'm talking Merritt Island, right? So, and I didn't know this stuff. I'm from Chicago. I don't know nothing about these floating beds and this and that, right? So she wants this piece of driftwood that's by the Banana River. It's a big piece of driftwood. It's got like this curly thing around it, right? So me and my cousin were like, all right, we jump on our bicycles. We ride sweating our asses off, sunglasses. We get to where the driftwood is. We jump down off the road onto, I thought was solid ground, right? We jump on it. It's like a water bed. I'm like, oh my God. So we had to be very careful because certain places we'd step and you go through it. And like your foot's in the Banana River and you're up here on this carpet. It was real crazy. So we got a bunch of this driftwood, and me and my cousin were riding back to my house. I'm on the 10-speed bike, no hands, and I'm holding these logs, sweat beaming down my face, and I feel like things crawling on me. I feel itching, right? So we get to the house, drop our bikes. I go in our foyer. You know how Florida is, everything's marble and open, and I my glasses are just hanging. I got sweat all in them, and I feel these things crawling on me. So we dropped the wood. As soon as we dropped the wood, there had to be 15, 20 tiny little scorpions just again.
Oh, man.
So we're doing a Mexican head dance trying to stomp on them all. But I find out that they're a wood scorpion, and like I found out, I may be wrong. Were those dangerous? Are they dangerous? The little tiny little wood scorpions?
So I think there's like 4 different species of scorpions native to Florida. The most dangerous one is the Florida bark scorpion.
That's the
Uh,
one.
Probably so.
Oh my God.
Another one that I see most often, I think it's called the Hints scorpion. It's got like a dark orange pattern, like kind of a couple dots and a line, something of that sort. And I used to catch those all the time. You know, you just grab them by the tail and you're fine.
Right.
But yeah, I've never personally been stung. I don't know anybody that has been stung. I don't really know how dangerous a bark scorpion sting is. I do actually, so I do know somebody, a family member of mine, cousin of mine. We were at the pool, and it was at home. You know, we were out at the pool, and he used to keep his swimming trunks inside the little, closet thing outside in the lanai. Well, I'm sure you know where this is going. He ends up getting stung, on the jewels.
Don't tell
And
me they told him that his friend runs to the doctor and says, "What can we do? You got to suck the
not a
blood."
damn thing.
He goes, "Hey,
No.
dude, you're gonna die."
So I don't, to be honest, I don't even. No, I was young. But I don't even remember if he went anywhere. I remember the screaming, and I remember the stories the next few days. Apparently he was black and blue. A lot of bruising came from it. So
Wow.
You guys have
yeah, I
so
wouldn't
much stuff down
recommend.
there. Florida
No.
is like the Australia of the United States.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I remember Sarai calls me one day. Or well, she sent me a picture first, and she was like, "Hey, I found a snake," and then she calls me, and I look at the picture as I'm on the phone with her, and I'm like, "Sarai, do not touch it." Turns out it's a coral snake. That's about
Wow.
6 inches long, teeny tiny little baby, teeny tiny little baby.
That's insane.
Right there in the Chelonian Center.
Is that the first one you've seen, or you see them pretty often?
Actually, I've been really lucky these past few years with corals. I seen my first coral back in 2016. Didn't see another one until probably 2022. But from 2022 to now, I've seen probably another 5 or 6. Yeah, I
How
mean,
about
I've seen 2 within a mile of the zoo.
how about the pygmy rattlesnakes or any eastern diamondbacks? You see them on the property at all?
I
And
see
if
eastern
not, why do you
diamondbacks.
suppose not?
I think the reason we don't see a lot of stuff, or at least a lot of a lot of stuff as often as it used to be seen, is just the overdevelopment of Florida.
Right.
They're getting pushed out of everywhere. I've got I go and help remove snakes from this one specific neighborhood. It butts right up to one of my favorite preserves, which is getting cleared right now, making room for yet another housing development. And
Yeah.
I get calls for cottonmouths and rattlesnakes all the time. And these people, not to like talk negatively about them, but like they just have no idea.
No.
Like they ask me like, "Oh, what can I do to get rid of them?" And I'm like, "Ma'am, like
How
they were
about
here
go
long
back to
before
New
you."
Jersey?
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, what I've told them to do lately is I tell them to get on to Google Maps, and there's that little button where you can go back years.
Yeah.
I tell them go back 10, 15 years. Look at what you're living in. You're
Yeah.
living in pristine habitat that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
So what you're seeing is those strong survivors that are barely hanging on. And most of their first instinct is to get the gun,
Yep.
get the gun, get the shovel, so
Well,
it's unfortunate.
you
It's
know,
amazing that these people move to places like that and they don't know beforehand like that.
like
Oh
All
my
this
gosh.
stuff is
like
down.
you talk about the coral snake that's a little more fossorial and more secretive in their ways, and they pack a good punch, and I mean
Most
that's
potent snake in the states.
and that's why they are that way, and they're a little more bold, where like when you think about like the physicality of like a rattlesnake, he don't want to bite you. He uses his venom for food. He's going to give you a rattle. Hey, I'm here. Stay away. So with the rattlesnakes, I think a lot of their instinct is to avoid high traffic area with people. So maybe that's what's helping you at Iguana Land, and maybe that's why, you know, the coral snakes are a little more prevalent, because, you know, you guys are creating habitat for them too, which it's not necessarily a bad thing other than how dangerous they are. But,
Right.
you know, they need to do that more. Like you said with the preserve, you know, instead of building another cul-de-sac, just turn it into a preserve or something, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Give these
Yeah, and
animals.
that's the unfortunate thing. Like, it was already a preserve, and the county decided to sell a huge chunk of it to some housing developer. And then, you know, again, like, not to get political about it, but it's like, you know, the all the commissioners on FWC, Florida Wildlife Commissioner or Commission, they are all
They're all
land
land
developers,
developers. Yep.
except for one. Except for
That's
one. But
crazy.
guess what? Her husband is the land developer. It's
Wow.
like, guys, like, this is an extreme conflict of interest. You know, the main guy, damn, what's his name? I'm
Pareto.
blanking. Barreto, yes. I remember he has a quote talking about like something like, "Oh, I'm in the business of making money." Like, no, you're not. You're supposed to be protecting Florida's
Yeah.
wildlife and its ecosystem. Like,
Well, you know
it's
what, Joe?
unfortunate.
It's really, you got the double-sidedness of it. Okay, so you got the land developers, you got this Barreto guy who protects all the, you know, the land developers, and
Mhm.
then you got this clown who says my job is to make money, right? So, you know, a lot of stuff with this conservation in Florida, it's, you know, I mean, come on, let's be real. It's money. It's about making money. So what is huge? Okay, you can't have tegus, you can't have this, you can't, because they can escape. And so then let me ask you this, Barreto, why do you release Oscar fish into the
Peacock
canals?
bass.
Oh, yeah, peacock bass. Oh, because that drives your multi-billion-dollar fishing a year industry. So it's okay for you to destroy a certain aspect of the environment because you're making money. But you don't care about the other one. You don't care about the reptiles and amphibians and the insects because you're making money. So you see how hypocritical they are?
See, I feel the same way. I feel similar about the python hunt. You know, that annual python hunt. You know, they hire every dude with a big lifted truck and a bunch of lights on his truck lit up like the sun to go out there and go, just first and foremost, disturb the wildlife. You
Yep.
know, going out there to look for them. You know, like, it was one thing back in the day when you could go out and go cruise a dead road all night. You know, that's one thing. But then you invite hundreds, thousands of hunters down to the Everglades, this
Yep.
pristine habitat, and they don't care. You know, a lot of these people aren't going down there because they're reptile lovers. You know,
Yep.
these are guys that have this idea that they're going down there to save the glades. You
Yep.
know, and they're mowing over every single native species that they see with impunity. You know, they don't care.
Mhm.
Just to find maybe one or two pythons a night. And then if you look at the actual numbers, the actual numbers, the amount of animals that they're pulling out every year is not even a drop in the bucket
They're
compared
not
to the true
touching.
scope of the problem.
They're not
Yeah,
touching.
exactly.
They're not doing what they think they're doing. And in the process of doing what they're doing, not doing what they think they're doing, think about all them big trucks and their little airboats that are going over frog, you know, eggs, salamander, frogs,
Yep.
all that stuff that needs to be, you know, undisturbed in quiet waters. And yeah, so you're going to kill billions of frogs to get maybe a Burmese python.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
you're not, you
They
haven't,
think they're gonna walk up on these Burmese pythons. Like, it's like you say, Uncle Mike, but the guy reaching up the tree to go see the Croc monitor, they're gone as soon as they hear these trucks coming.
yep.
Yep.
So
Exactly. So.
they're looking at this backwards.
And that, I think, Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, because you're there. I think a lot of that python hunt and the tegu things, they were all saying how that's really decimating, like the raccoons and the possums and the other kind of mammalians mammalian prey that's around there, when in reality, they are known to eat alligators, other reptiles. So they're in these swampy areas. Sure, they might get a raccoon every now and then, but there's no problem. We're not running out of raccoons. We're not running out of possums. We're not running out of that nutria, that kind of rat and squirrel and things. And we're not running out of alligators. There was a time, but they're not anymore. So you got to ask yourself, when they say that, like they always say, they would never say a raccoon or a squirrel. They always say mammalian. And then as soon as you say mammalian, that's when people start thinking, oh, save the manatees. It's like, no, they're not eating manatees. You know what I mean? Yet you'll put the Oscars and the peacock bass in the water with the manatees. So every brother and their mother with their boats, and you see all the manatees with the slices on them. Man, it's it's so chaotic. It's like, man, pull yourself back. And when you pull yourself back, I mean, I'm no genius, but if you can't see it, man, you got a problem.
Yeah.
See, the way I look at it with the meso predators like raccoons, possums, things like that. I seen a study basically saying that there is a bit of a pro to the Burmese python being in the Everglades, because if you look at raccoons and possums and things like that, historically their numbers used to be far less, and because of the fur trade, there was money to be made, so we kept the population in check. Not to mention that we killed off all the black bears, we killed off all the wolves, we killed off all their predators, the panthers. Everything's near gone or gone. So now that there's been this new predator introduced into the Everglades, what we're seeing is actually an uptick in native turtle populations, because things like the raccoons and others aren't digging up every single nest. So the babies actually have a chance to survive. So that I tell guests
really
about
cool.
that, and of course, not advocating for pythons in the Everglades,
Right.
but I'm not going to lie and say that it's just all around bad. I think the world has a beautiful way of righting itself.
Definitely.
Now, did we do a great job of up? Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
But I think Florida should change gears and focus on containing the issue rather than hiring every redneck in the country to come down and mow over everything.
And decimate
I heard
everything in the process.
I heard a podcast about it. There's always a big boom before nature levels out. So I think we're going to have that leveling out. I mean, with everything. We build buildings, nature tears it down. It's
what, and Nick, I guess you guys, I liken it to this. Back in the early days of me keeping monitors, I've always been a naturalistic keeper. I always collect my own, logs and branches and woods and leaves, and I collect it all from the outside. So. And I'm not saying I started bioactivity. I'm not saying that at all, because I don't do live plants, number one. But in bringing in all of this stuff into my monitors enclosures, I did notice I have isopods. I have little centipedes, millipedes, springtails, all this stuff. And early on in my monitor career, I had a peach throat monitor, big animal. It was right before lights were going out, and he took a big dump in the middle of my beautiful enclosure. And I was like, you know what? I'll get that in the morning. I had no idea, right? So I come back down in the morning right before the lights turned on. The lights turn on, and like the gone, and all these workhorses, roly-polies, centipedes, millipedes, earwigs, springtail, they all ran for, their life because the lights came on. And people used to say to me, well, they're going to take over your house. And, I didn't know. But what I did find out in time is, sure, there's a boom. When you first collect when you first set up a cage and you're bringing in a ton of from outside, you get a big population. However, when your lizard's only pooping a couple poops here and there, that's not enough to sustain everything that's in there. So it kind of breaks down. And then it gets used to the amount of waste to sustenance that it'll provide for them, and you never get that, oh my God, they're all over the place. It's just a balance. It's like a saltwater fish tank.
Yep.
You know, the nitrogen cycle, just it works itself out, and then it maintains itself. It's beautiful.
Yep.
So yeah, it's
For
probably
sure.
the same thing with the pythons and the raccoons too.
I mean, look at what you guys deal with up north. I mean, look at the white-tailed population, the white-tailed deer population. You know, I can't imagine it being the standard to hit a deer or two every year. You know, like that's ridiculous to me.
It's out of
You
control.
know, and you guys have giant deer up there compared to our little Florida deer. You know, your deer are on steroids. You know.
Yep.
We had it with bear by me, where they had to actually they stopped the bear hunt for 2 years, and they were like breaking into people's houses and stuff, so they had to start the bear hunt back up again.
Jeez. Yeah, see, down here, they just did the first bear hunt in years. And I think large in part was due to a black bear. It was like a group of them. It was 2 or 3 of them. Unfortunately, mauled this old man down in, near the Everglades. But with that being said, I'm almost 30 years old. I've been hunting a lot, you know, for the majority of my life. I've never seen a black bear in Florida. Never
Really?
once. Now, other people, I know a lot of people who have. I think I'm just unlucky, but I've seen 2 Florida Panthers too. You
Wow.
know, so
That's
the fact that I haven't seen a bear does not make me that confident that there's a big population of them down here.
Yeah.
You know,
See, like not where I live now. I live higher elevation up in the mountains, but where I used to live, I saw them like at least once a week in the summertime, and like
My
some
lifer-
big ones. My friend shot a state record. I don't want to say
Wow.
the wrong thing, but it was like 550 or something crazy.
Jesus.
It might even be more than that, but it was a state. I helped him carry it out, and I was like, "This is insane."
Yeah, my lifer bear was earlier, probably no, it was late last year. I went to North Carolina to go to a concert, and we were on our way to the venue, and we drove past a black bear just chilling on the side of the road, just sitting. It looked like he was just waiting to pass.
Yeah.
You know, I was just waiting to cross the road. He was just sitting on his ass, just patient.
They're so docile unless confronted.
Yeah.
Well, my friend with that one, it was actually crazy because he was sitting on the ground with his back to a tree, and it came out of the swamp, and they were 10 feet when he took his first shot. By the time he took his last shot, they were within 4 feet.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, he was
Talk
like,
about-
the length of the gun was about how far away they were from each other.
Jesus Christ.
Yep.
I would have fainted. I wouldn't have made it
He
out.
said, I think I got a little something in my pants, to be honest.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, you know that there's that story. I don't think I know it. So it's Fred Bear. He's the guy who makes bear archery, you know, and like he had to prove out his bows or whatever, you know. So he was in the North Pole, wherever polar bears are from. And man, that's a different beast. That's a different beast.
Yep.
Not a compound bow, nothing, just a regular bow and arrow. And this thing's charging him. And he's just going pop, pop. And the thing, I don't know, had maybe 3 arrows in the front side of its chest. And literally, as his pants filled with crap, the thing just slid and died right at his feet. You could Google that story, too. That's crazy.
You ever see the side by side of a black bear compared to a polar bear?
I was going to mention that they dwarf them. It's insane.
Yeah, and I was terrified of black bear growing up because, like, you see them. I have a story of me. I lived on a cul-de-sac, and it was a hill, and my house was at the top of the hill, and I was pushing my bike up home from school, and I'm going like this, and I'm pushing it up, and I'm like winded, so I'm like hanging my head down, and I looked up, and I was probably like 10, 15 feet from a giant black bear. And I did exactly what you're not supposed to do. I dropped my bike and ran. And I didn't look back. I just went to one of the neighbors' doors and just started slamming on the door. He went the other way, thank God.
Yeah.
But I was scared to death of those things.
Did you ever see that National Geographic footage of that Einstein? He thought it'd be a good thing to get in a shark cage in a polar bear, where a polar bear was. That polar bear came up. That guy was tucked in that shark cage.
I did see that.
It just stood up, and it's like 11 feet tall, and it's just going boom, boom, and the guy's just like, please don't give out. But man,
I bet he regretted that when that was happening. He's
I
like,
think he regretted it too. Yeah. Why would you do such a thing?
Crazy.
I've never understood the people that get in the water in the shark cages in the water with like great whites. I remember I was watching Shark Week one week, and there was this was years and years ago. I'm sure you could Google it and find it, but they had some people in the cage, or maybe it was just one person. I think it was just like a cameraman. Well, anyway, I think it was a great white. It was like a great white or a tiger shark. Came up, just trying to destroy the cage, ends up and over the barrier and inside the cage with this cameraman, and it's bouncing off the walls at this point, and it ends up coming out the top again, and luckily the guy came out unscathed. But man, like,
I remember that. I remember that video.
Man.
That shark went in, it flipping around, and then after several minutes, it flipped out, and like the one guy, he's they're how when somebody's nervous, they take their jacket off, they put it back on, they put their gloves, they put the glasses. So this guy, he's doing all this and that, and he puts his mask on like he's going to stick his head in the top of the cage and see if the guy's in there. So he puts the mask on. He's like, nope, I ain't going to do that. And then as he backs up, the guy pops up out of the cage, and he's just like, oh, my God, yeah, get out of the water, dude. Crazy.
Oh, my God.
I seen that, man.
Insane.
I seen that. No, that was nuts.
Inside.
Yeah, I'm a land lover.
Probably two of the scariest on the planet, I'd say. Sharks and polar bears.
Yeah.
Don't want to be anywhere near.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or even like the chimpanzee, he's all coy, and you're like, oh, cute little chimp, you think, chimpy chimp, and then he pulls your finger off, and he grabs your nuts and tears them off.
Scalps you.
Yeah. So there's those animals like that like lull you into a sense of security, like a bear. Yeah. And then when he's got his mouth around your head, you're like, oh, too late.
Yep.
You ever see that video of the two? It's actually was down the street from my house. It went like viral. The two black bear fighting, and they're chest to chest and like swinging at each other. And they're knocking over garbage cans and bumping into cars. That was literally like 5 minutes from my house.
Wow.
I was watching Rogan, and he played it on there. I'm like, that's so weird. It's in Rockaway, New Jersey. Or my old house. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, nuts.
No way.
Yeah, they're huge, and they're standing over the cars that they're in the middle of the road, just swinging at each other. Nuts.
So, listen, guys, it's 9:36 here. So, what does that make it? 10:36 by you?
10:36. Yep.
Wow. And Joe, you too, 10:36.
Yep.
I'm sure you got to get ready to go do your rounds.
Yeah.
And then I got work in the morning too.
Yeah, well, you know what, Joe? I thank you so much for coming on, man. This was a hell of a conversation. I can't say enough good things about you. Pleasure to know you, and keep up the good work and doing what you do.
Yeah,
I got no plans to stop.
Closing question for you, Joe, and don't get yourself in trouble. What's next for you in Iguana Land? What's going on down there? Anything new, big projects, anything like that?
Well, I mean, of course, we're really hoping we can put our names on that very short list of Croc monitor breeders. We've talked about that already. And then there's one more thing that I cannot talk about, but it's going to be a very big deal if it happens, and it looks like it's happening. It involves like U.S. Fish and Wildlife, so that's all the hints I can give you guys. Awesome. We're working very closely with some zoos on some things. So we might get some new stuff in here in the coming months. So keep your eyes peeled. I'm sure as soon as we get permission, Ty will be singing it from the rooftop. So it's something we're excited about, and I hope
it's what I'm thinking. So.
Nick, I'm right there with you. I'm sure we're on the same page with that. Yeah. But hey, you never know. Ty might be able to pull off something bigger than what we're thinking.
Yeah, it's true.
Which is pretty big.
Well, that's exactly what I wanted, Joe. It's exciting. I appreciate that. I'm excited.
Yeah. Of course.
But so, man, Joe, this was a great conversation. Like I said, say hello to Sari. How do you say it?
Sarai,
and Ty and your family there, Joe. Thank you so much, everybody. Joe from Iguana Land.
You're the man,
Thank
Joe.
you guys so much for having me. Thank you guys
You're going to get those Crocs. I know it.
Yep. And keep in touch, Joe. We'll keep in touch. Hopefully we can come down and see him. Me and Nick been talking about possible Daytona trip this year, and then we will definitely come and see you. But if not, you ever come up this way to Tinley Park? Yeah, I know Ty comes up, but I think he's got a short leash on you. He needs you there to take care of
Yeah,
stuff.
that's exactly so. I'm not allowed to leave.
Right. Yeah. And, you're in a place that doesn't need leaving. That's what I like about my house. People
Now
are like,
that you
hey,
say it- Now that you say it, I haven't seen your hands. Are you chained to that couch, Joe?
Yeah, no, I'm actually not allowed to show you. I've got a waist belt here, and it's got me strapped. If I get too far outside the front gate, I get shocked.
Oh man!
Blink twice if you need help.
Oh my gosh!
Oh, no, Nick,
that hand signal.
Yeah, it's like this.
That's funny.
No, I love it. I'm allowed to leave. I just don't want to.
I got you. I know the feeling.
Yeah.
So again, thanks so much, Joe. Tell Ty we said hello, and much love and respect to you, and keep doing the good job that you're doing. And we'll be in touch. We'll have you back on. It was a great conversation.
Yep.
Nice.
You,
I'd love to come back. Thank you guys so much for the nice words. I had a great time doing this. This was really fun.
I told you nothing to be worried about, Joe. You're a natural. You're good.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Take care.
All right, guys.
Good
See
night,
you next
guys.
time.
Good night.
Bye.